Amazing. I am so excited to be here with Jill Bullock. She is a mindset coach and yoga teacher coming here to share her story and how she got to where she is today. I'm really excited to have you, Jill.
Thank you. I am very excited to be here. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, share with me. Tell us where you started. How did you get into yoga coaching? We can go back to what you almost started sharing before I
Yeah. Okay, and that is actually where it kind of did start originally. So my background many years ago was dental assisting. I was a dental assistant and in an orthodontic office, and it's very repetitive work. I always worked out and tried to be healthy, but my body was just needing more. So I started doing yoga. And the benefits that I was having from it physically, mentally, I just loved it. I became quite addicted quite early. So I've practiced yoga for a number of years. And then I've always been interested in health and wellness and, self-development and all that kind of stuff. So I started dabbling in a few other things, and I took theta healing, I took Reiki, I took reflexology. And when I took my reflexology training, that's what got me pretty much out of dental. I started doing that, just knowing what it did for people and balancing out the body. And so that's when I started my business. And then I eventually got built up that I've worked my way out of dental. And then as I became a reflexologist, I was doing yoga at a studio here in the city I live in. And number of people asked me if I taught. And I'm like, no, weird comments that I was like, well, no. And they're like, you should think about it. And I'm like, maybe I should. It was just these little seeds were planted. And it was interesting in a sense that when it happened, all in my body, it was like, or my mind said, hell no, I'm not going to stand up in front of a bunch of people and tell them what to do. But deeper inside, it was like, you need to do this. So I took some yoga training just through the studio that I here in Regina that I go to. And then I've been teaching for the last 8 years. So it was a great compliment to the reflexology. And I also now do Thai yoga massage. I do that as well. And through the lockdown and all the rest, as we came out of that and started working again, I just took a real long, hard look at how people would come in and they'd lay on my table for an hour and have reflexology treatment. They'd come into a yoga class and they'd lay on the mat and they'd get relaxed, but they'd walk out the door and they'd be back in their shit, and they'd be back in for another treatment, still right back to where they were. So that's where the coaching came in. I started, a lot of treatments, you became kind of like coaching sessions. So I took some training. I took an NLP training about a year ago. I'm doing some more now, becoming a master practitioner at that. And yeah, it's just really helping people shift that perspective and keeping their mindset off their mat or off the table, and really empowering them to not let their minds run wild and control their lives. And yeah, it's phenomenal. It's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. So have really great success with people. And it's just that awareness. It's like, we're never taught that stuff. We're not taught how to process emotions, or that, we can actually control where we send our thoughts, and what we focus on grows. It's a quote we hear lots, but you don't actually realize that it's possible. So you just have to practice. So sometimes it's just that. And then, just being congruent and, setting boundaries. We teach them all about that kind of stuff too. So yeah, it's great. And like I say, it goes hand in hand with yoga. I feel like the philosophy of yoga is very much the philosophy I try to do with coaching and whatnot too. Again, just calming the mind and just living congruently. Yeah. So it's been a journey. So yeah, it's been good. And I love it
so much, Jill, because, yoga, multi-passionate at its core, a deep desire to help people. And how can I do it through all the different modalities? And that you're just being called. You are being called and initiated. And there's self-doubt and fear. And that's not me. The identity work that we get to step into as people start to reflect back to us these different things. I remember the first time I was called an entrepreneur, I was like, I'm not an entrepreneur. I was in the yoga ashram, Googling entrepreneur. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I am, and it's but people plant those seeds inside of us, and then we take action upon it. And all the different modalities that you spoke on, it's like, that's why I became a self-love yoga coach. It was how to live a yogic lifestyle, because I did Thai massage as well. And I was like, you can come and I can do the work for you, or you can go onto your mat and do the work yourself. And I think that's with coaching too, right? We can seek outside of ourselves for so long, but what a coach does is give us the tools to do it on our own and be able to create and maintain a lifestyle that we truly desire. And that is the empowerment of living your yoga off the mat. And I was reading your, intake form before we hopped on here, and I was just like, she gets it, and all the different modalities that come in. There's nothing more fulfilling in life than being able to help someone just live their life in a more aligned, organic way.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the stress and the burnout and the overwhelm that's going on in the world too, it's a lot about just a perspective of how you're looking at situations, right? So if you can get people to just be calm, centered, and it's like, well, that was shitty, because a lot of situations in life show up and you don't necessarily like them, but you don't have to create the drama around them, or you can stay calm and deal with things. That's why I have a buffalo hanging on my wall. Buffaloes, I don't know if you know this, but they actually innately will run headfirst into a storm to get through it faster.
Wow.
Cattle run away. So always be the buffalo.
Ooh, I have goosebumps all over my body. That is so good. So good. So tell me, how does it work for you? How do you run your business? What is the structure and the model of you running classes and coaching? And how is it that you implement the coaching into your yoga business?
Oh yeah. So for yoga right now, I have, through my business, I have some online classes through my website. It's like a on-demand type of thing. And I teach at a yoga studio. When I'm teaching yoga, I'm coaching. Like, I'm always talking about mindset and, giving people little seeds and nuggets for them to think and grab onto. And again, it just fits, right? So, and then as far as the coaching goes, a lot of it comes from, it's been a lot of organically, just people I've talked to, people that have been in yoga classes or workshops I've done, and friends of friends, and my girlfriend's husband just signed on, and, it's like so it's been very organic because people need it and they don't realize. The lady I just signed on the other day, she was all hell bent and fury to sign up for antidepressants, and she was telling me the story, and I'm like, let's talk. So, we had our first discovery call and we talked a lot, and she even messaged me after she signed up. We got everything rolling, got the first session booked, and she texted me and she's like, my sister really wants me to go on antidepressants, and she's like, what do you think? And I said, I'm like, and you hear they're stuck in their story, right? Like, you, as a coach, you get that. And it's like all the things, right? All the things. And I said, let's just talk. I said, come in for your first session. I said, you can book an appointment with your doctor if you need to. And so she came in, and we had our first session, and on her way home, she sent me a voice message saying, yeah, I'm canceling my appointment. She got it. It was so amazing. And she's the second woman I've helped with that, right? Again, it's just you, and then people telling you, right? It's like, so it's about learning that empowerment, right? Taking our power back instead of looking for external sources and saying, well, what do you think? What do you think? And what do I need? So it's about that. But yeah, so that's kind of how my business goes. And a lot of my coaching I do online. So it's nice. It's easy. Yeah. And reflexology, I work out of the studio. I rent a room there and do it there. So it just all kind of fits together. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. It's amazing too. Like, when your work works, you get referrals and you get recommended, and it just happens in an organic way, where first you have to run into the storm, as you said. Like, I really love that analogy, because I think anyone starting their business or going into something like expanding into a new label or identity like coach. I know for many yoga teachers, they're like, I'm not a coach, I'm a yoga teacher. And it's like, I'm the same. I was always coaching my clients in my classes. It was like, there was a theme and a dharma talk, and like, what do you do when you get out of here? And that comes to us yoga teachers naturally, and running into the storm and all the fears and the doubts, they're still there. And I think you demonstrated how you get to show them to be their own example of what happens when you get coached or you do coaching, like either one of those sides. And yeah, your work pays for itself, and having other people reach out. Do you use social media as a way to reach more people and attract more clients?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I have a Facebook page, a business page, and Instagram as well. I do have LinkedIn. Yeah, so I am available on there too. And I have a Facebook group. It's about defeating burnout and overwhelm. That's typically what I focus on because it's so prevalent, right? And again, it's just our society has kind of formed us into thinking that it's got to be that hustle mentality. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but how's that working out for you if you're sick and overwhelmed and you're running all over and trying to make everybody else happy? And so anyways, that is typically what I focus on. I would say that's the direction. Is it's kind of a way into people, because sometimes they just and then what you don't understand, or what people don't understand, is that if you're even looking at relationships or you're burnt out at work, if you're not setting boundaries at work and you learn how to start setting those boundaries, it's going to affect every other aspect of your life. So so I try to help with that in my Facebook group and well, just even my posts and stuff as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, story short, yes, I am.
No, I love that. It's like, it's an extension of your teachings, and you're just sharing the work that you do behind the scenes online. And content creation gets to be easy when you know what it is that you're helping your clients with, the results that they get and how you do it. And you just get to redemonstrate that online to help more people that read your posts and engage with your community.
Yeah. And that's what it is just really supporting and helping as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
And what is your content strategy? Like, how do you show up? Is there any formula that you use? Is it organic? Just what comes to mind?
It's pretty organic, actually. And I find that if I'm sometimes too, even within my yoga teaching, and maybe you find this too, but if I'm experiencing something or going through something, I know there's people in that room that need to hear it, or even online that need to hear it. So a lot of it is that, or if I've had conversations of kind of the few things, or a few people about the same thing, then I'd be like, okay, we need to talk about this more online, or more people need to know about this too, or just kind of correct perspective or something. So it typically is more organic, I would say. I don't have a big plan to anything like that, but other than to help people, that's my biggest plan.
And that's, for me, I'm always like, sankalpa, intention, like, why are you doing it? And when you're just using social media as an extension of your teachings and your work, it really does get to be that simple. Is like, how can I show up and share what I'm going through? How can I show up and share like what my client is going through? Like, and then you just get to help more people. And that, at the end of the day, it's like, that's why we do social media, because we can reach so many more people in that aspect.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good tool. It's a great tool, actually. And it connects, it can create community. And I think that's a great thing. It can be used for bad too, but you know what? We focus on the good, and I think it is a good thing. Yeah.
And any relationship is that way. It can be negative and it can be positive. It just depends on like what you choose to feed.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. Like you said, what Sankalpa are you putting into that? So it's like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so for you right now, like, do you do any free master classes, any trainings, mini courses? Do you have any lead magnets to work through with your clients and get more reach?
Not yet. That is some stuff I'm starting to work through. I surprisingly enough, I've been a little busier than I anticipated. So, but that is definitely something I'm working on. I have stuff in the works right now and just trying to figure out how to do it. So there's some of that stuff too, but I have some help with my website and all that kind of stuff. So there is stuff going to be coming out. So yeah. And yeah, it's interesting too. Like the social media thing, I kept, you start to self-doubt and you always ask for signs. And I didn't even ask for a sign this time. I was just kind of doubting myself, going, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And maybe I need to start looking at this a little deeper. And probably an hour after I said that, I popped onto Facebook and my notifications had blown up. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? Well, my new client that just signed on the other day, she found my my page, and she was liking and sharing and commenting. And then she sent me a message and she's like, oh my God, everything you posted, I needed to hear all of this stuff. I thought, okay, I'll just keep going with what I'm
See,
right. So yeah, don't fix it if it ain't broke. That's the other thing, right? Yeah.
no, yeah, exactly. And I love it too. You're just sharing like how organic it gets to be when
Yeah.
it's your soul work.
Yes. Oh, so true. So true. Yeah.
What
That's great.
advice would you give to someone that's like, "Ah, maybe I want to be a coach. I've been thinking about becoming a coach. Should I become a coach?" And they're holding the self-doubt, because we all enter self-doubt as a human being growing through human experiences. When we're being called to do something, there's fear. What if, judgment, doubt, all the different things. How bull into the storm? How do you do it?
You know what? It's take the action, get the feedback. And why not you? Other
Yeah.
people do it and are successful with it. And if you're being called to it, that seed has been planted for a reason. So trust it.
Mm.
And there's no growth without challenge. I mean, that fear doesn't ever go away, even as you and I have been working in business, and I still have stuff that holds me back. Maybe you do too, I don't know, but that kind of gets exciting though. It's that notion of looking for the challenge and growing from it. So I say do it. Just, whether it comes to something or doesn't, there's no right or wrong decision, but why not you?
Yeah, I love that. That's like what I say is like, why not you? And just take messy action. And we can say that in
Absolutely.
all our own ways, but it's like your feedback, like you mentioned, I call it evidence, whatever it is. It's like you're going to build your stamina for the nervous system to hold the fear, because it never goes. I still have fear. I got off a client call a little while ago, and like we were both in tears, and she was in tears because she was afraid, and I was in tears because I was remembering when I was afraid. And I was like, I'm just evidence that like this is possible when you take the action, and then you refine and you master it. Like we do our yoga practice. It's not that we ever overcome, fear. And I talk about this, like I dropped out of college to study yoga. I sold everything I owned to move to Costa Rica. I left a relationship, and every single time I did all of those different things, I was afraid.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
sure,
isn't there a saying, feel the fear and do it anyway?
yeah, yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah. And when you were speaking too, I thought about the quote that Rumi gives: what you seek is seeking you. So if it's a
Mm,
desire, it's meant for you. And
yeah.
you to bring that desire into fruition is aligning the soul with the human and going for it and taking action. And the quote that you just like said, I was literally at a waterfall last Sunday, and they were like backflipping and jumping forward off a huge waterfall. And the guy said to his clients, because they're like, oh, I can't believe he's not afraid. He said, it's never that we're not afraid. It's that we're afraid and we do it anyways. And I was just like, oh, business, life, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. Take the risk. Why not?
Yeah.
There's like, and failure is just a word.
Yeah.
You learn or you grow. And that's about it. But yeah.
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 I sent out an email actually just this week on like, you're going to fail. And people got mad at me for saying that to them, but I'm like, it's true. And we can normalize failing because that's the pathway to success. And Walt Disney, J.K. Rowling, Oprah Winfrey, Steve
Yep.
Jobs, we all failed. And so failing is a part
Big
of our
time.
journey. Big, like
Sometimes
huge.
they failed hugely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, it's just a word. Like it's the how much you learn within each failure is huge. Like if life was easy, it would be boring. Right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, work for the challenge. Yeah.
Mm.
Embrace that feeling.
I love that work for the challenge.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is the work that you do? Do you have a process, a method, a structure that you do inside of your coaching containers, like a program built out, or is it personalized?
It's personalized to a degree, but it's through NLP. Like I do, so it's kind of a sequential, I guess would be the word, where we clear away. So we start off just really understanding how the mind works, working with that unconscious mind, and just again connecting with the thoughts and just becoming very aware of them and taking responsibility for change. And so we talk a lot about that within the first session. And then probably this second, third, fourth, maybe we get into some what they call timeline therapy. So what that does is it helps clear away. It's like a subconscious cleanup. It helps clear away all the old negative emotions that are stored in the body that we haven't processed through. And all those negative emotions that are stored create your personality. So if there's a lot of anger or sadness or hurt, fear, guilt, all of it in there, it tends to create who we are as a person. So sometimes people get lots of anger. It's just unprocessed anger that has to come out. So we look at each one and we do work for each of them to help clear it away. And then we do the limiting decisions that are made when you're usually a small kid that create the limiting beliefs as adults. So we clear those away. So we basically just kind of clear everything out and then start rebuilding. So we look at setting boundaries and maybe clearing away some codependency stuff, and then start working forward on goals and whatever goal they're after, relationship, money, career, anything like that, and start building them up that way. And just, again, living that empowered life.
Yeah, I love that you talk about it. Reminds me of clearing a garden bed. I speak of that analogy a lot. It's like you're just clearing out the garden bed and then consciously choosing what you want to plant and grow.
Absolutely. That's a great analogy. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
really.
focus forward is huge, because we tend to, a lot of people are kind of addicted to their suffering, right? And you get stuck in it, and you can't see out of it. So once they're in the problem. So once you kind of get them looking outside the problem, it's like, oh, and then they're expand and all these opportunities start showing up. And yeah, it's neat to see and witness. I love getting the messages after. It's like, oh, this happened. So that's pretty fulfilling. But yeah. So that's about it. Yeah.
That's what you said. It feels so good to get those messages. It's a confirmation that this stuff works, and we never not want that confirmation, because it's just that reminder that like what we feel so fulfilled in doing, they're receiving that as well.
Yeah. I this morning, even I was teaching a class at the studio, and my one client, she showed up for class, and I don't see her in person much. Like, she had come to a couple of classes prior and didn't know her much, but after our coaching, she comes up, she goes, "I have to give you a big hug." And she goes, "And I just think this is going to be every time I see you now." And I said, "Awesome, bring it on." So yeah, so she's just so grateful, and I love that. So it's good. Yeah.
So beautiful. I love it. Fills me up. And so what is one thing right now that you personally are working on in your life or business?
Personally, for me, yeah, well, building my business, relationship probably too. I'm human, went through relationship issues, but then in the spring, some stuff went down and ended and whatever. And again, it's like, you look at it, it's like, what's this teaching me? So it's been a lot of that as well. And I've grown tons, and actually had made some really good realizations. And I feel like that just equates to business as well. Again, right? Like just standing in your own power, speaking up for yourself, and believing in yourself, knowing your value, all that kind of stuff. So that's been a big theme for me with everything, because I still get that imposter syndrome too when I'm posting and all the rest. And but I'm having some really big opportunities show up, so I'm saying yes as much as possible, and doing it anyways.
Yeah, and you just keep getting
I practice what I
supported.
preach.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You're being initiated, right? The relationship that's happening, the fear that's happening, is like you get to be the embodiment. And that's a lot of the work that I do with my clients, is like when you embody what you teach, you attract more people to teach, because you're calling that energy in forward, and you're just leading the way, you're paving the way, and you get to really be the evidence of like, yeah, she's this amazing person working on herself, doing the mindset work, and she still has relationship issues. Yeah. And she still has self-doubt, and she still has fear, but like, look at her, she's doing it anyways.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Life keeps lifing. It doesn't stop. Like, shit keeps rolling down. Like, my dad passed away suddenly 2 years ago. And so like, there's some hard things that go on, but you can't let it necessarily stop you. You have to deal with things and feel the emotions, but just let them flow through you and feel them. And you just keep growing and learning, and, so things come to an end, but really, like, that's that whole notion of nothing lasts forever. So yeah.
Yeah. And I also, when you were speaking right now, I just got flashback to this time that I went to my first ever yoga teacher training ashram. We went on like a visit to the ashram, and one of the men there, they were dying of cancer. And I thought to myself, no one gets out of here alive. even someone in the ashram, and it was just like, because we're all human. You go into a yoga ashram, there's people with self-doubt and fear and all these other limiting beliefs that they're still working through. And so it's like, we're never, as long as we're in this body, there's always soul work to do. And yeah, we just keep growing and learning for ourselves first, and then to take our clients on a journey with us.
Exactly. Yeah. Welcome to the human race.
Oh, Jill, just talking to you, it really fills me up. It gives me a lot of inspiration and joy. And I know that you're an inspiration to those listening. If they want to come and find you, can you share with us the best places that you hang out? And I will, of course, link it in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, I have a Facebook page. It's called Jill Bullock Holistic Yoga and Wellness. And Instagram, I'm on there too. I think it's _Jill_Bullock. Those two places I probably would be the most. I'm on WhatsApp and all the rest too, but I have a website. But if you want to connect with me more through that Facebook page too, I think there's a link on Instagram in my bio that you can join the Facebook group as well if that's something that interests anybody. So those would be probably the best places to find me.
Amazing. And one final question: how do you amplify your impact in the world?
How do I amplify it? It's a good question. Do you know what? By living it.
Yeah.
Teach from example.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to heal ourselves to heal the world, right? So I think the biggest thing is to, like I said, practice what you preach and just living what you teach.
Living by example. It's my value in life. And I love that you shared that too. Thank you so much, Jill. And I look forward to connecting with you more online, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Sounds good. Thanks very much. It's an honor. Yeah. Take care.